So let's getting started with Django. Django follows so-called pattern called MVT. It's short for Model View Template. So when creating Django applications, we need to create these three different layers. So we need to create models, we need to create views, and we need to create templates. So let's start with the model or models. So that's basically the data you want to present, usually data from a database. And the models are usually located in a file called models.py. So when you create a new Django project and a Django app, it comes with a folder structure and a file structure, and part of that file structure, models.py is one of the files that is part of this Django app. And typically in this file you will create the different models that is part of your Django application. Next, view or views. A view is basically a request handler that returns relevant template and content based on the request from the user. So the user sits in his web browser on the client and requests a particular URL, and all these views that is part of your Django application is created in a file called views.py. And finally we have templates, and templates is no more than ordinary HTML files that contain the layout of the web page and also logic how to display this data. And these templates or HTML files are typically stored in a subfolder in your Django application folder called templates. So these are basically the main files in a Django project and in a Django application. So you have these urls.py. In this one, you have an overview of the different URLs that should be accessible in your Django application. And then you have the views.py, where you create all your views, and basically these views are just ordinary Python functions. And then you have the models.py, and in this file you create all your models. And typically these models make sure that you can communicate with the database and retrieve data or insert data from the database. And then finally you have these templates, and then these templates are typically just ordinary HTML files like file name 1, file name 2. You can name them whatever you like, but typically the extension is HTML because these are ordinary HTML files. And these files are typically created and stored in a subfolder called templates. In the first part I was showing this simple sketch where you have on your web browser, you sit here and request a URL like this, and this HTTP request is then sent to the Django web server, and it communicates with a database and then send back an HTTP response in form of an ordinary HTML web page. And if you dig into more details here, so this one is divided in these three parts. We have these views, and we have the models, and we have the templates. And then when this user is, or your web browser is requesting a URL like this, the view, the different views like this, which is part of the URL, is located in the views.py file, and then this makes sure that it communicates with the model with a proper model in the models.py file, which again communicates with the database, and then it sends back a template as an HTTP response back to the web browser. So each part of Django development needs a view, a model, and a template. And before you start installing Django, you need to make sure that you have Python installed, and if not, make sure that you install Python before you start installing Django. Basically go to the home page of Python in order to install the Python package, and then after that you can check that you actually have Python properly installed by using this command version, and then you will find the proper version of Python installed on your computer. And the same with pip, because Django is basically just a Python package. So in order to install Python packages, you need to have this pip package installed. Typically this pip package is part of the ordinary Python installation, but you can also use pip version in order to find or check that you have pip installed and that you have a proper version of pip installed on your computer before you start installing the Django package. So when you have made sure that you have Python installed, the first thing you need to do before you install the Django package is to create a dedicated virtual Python environment for each of your Django projects. So typically when you want to create a Django project, first you need to create a new dedicated virtual Python environment for that specific Django project. So if you see this overview, here you typically you just have a folder on your computer where you want to install and develop the Django application, and then in that folder you need to create a virtual Python environment, and then you need to create a Django project, and that Django project will then create the necessary folders and files, and then next inside that Django project you can create one or more Django applications, and in each of these applications it will be created as folder structure and a file structure. So in each Django application you will have a separate URL, urls.py file, and files for models.py, views.py, and a set of template files, etc. And I guess that's a short overview of Django, how Django works, the file and folder structure, and in next part we will start creating a Django project and a Django app from scratch.